Welcome back to another episode of the RAG podcast. The podcast with me, Sean Anderson, the CEO and founder of Hoxo Media, where I bring to you a weekly dose of information from recruitment owners, suppliers, investors, advisors around the world who are not only trying to help people navigate through this ridiculous pandemic we've found ourselves for the last 12 months, but are also thinking about the future of recruitment. How do we build modern recruitment businesses built for this remote digital economy that we live in today? This week, I'm super excited to be joined by Bernie Schiemer. Bernie is the CEO of Vincere, the all-in-one ATS CRM platform that sponsors the RAG. So I'm a huge fan of Vincere. I've got loads of customers who live on the Vincere platform. But this is actually the first time I've spoken and met with Bernie, which is incredible. So Bernie, welcome to the RAG podcast.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me on, mate.
Not a problem. As I said, I always deal with Eloise, who is the head of growth, she's been, well, I've been pestering her to get into your diary. If I'm honest, you've been a busy guy, Bernie. Well, just give us an overview of who you are and what your role is in the business.
All right, I'm Bernie Schiemer. I'm an Aussie. I actually went to the UK when I was 25 and got into recruitment then. Mm-hmm. So I was actually taught by the Brits. One of the few actually Aussies that actually, I suppose, learned in and never really recruited in Australia. But anyway, so I started there, and I was in recruitment for 16 years. I built a business with some pals back in 2000, and we sold the business to Hayes in 2007. Wow. We did an earn out up to 2010. It was great, and then thought, okay, well, after a couple of years of things that you do, building houses in the mountains in Japan and stupid stuff like that, I decided to get back into recruitment, but I wanted to do something different. So I thought, software, how hard could it be? So we set out to build recruitment software. So we actually didn't start focusing on Vincere. We actually focused on two other products for about 5 years.
Wow, really?
And kind of Vincere was in the background. We called it something like Staffing Boss to begin with, to be honest, Sean. It was I want to dig into that.
What? So as the CEO of a tech company now, like, can you just give us what does the business look like from above? How many people have you got? What locations? That kind of stuff.
Right. Okay. Just a helicopter view. Just under 1,300 customers now. We're about 90 people now, and we've got 5 office locations. Right. So we've got Saigon, where we do all our dev. We've got an office in Sydney. We've got a nice office in London. We've got our headquarters in Singapore, and then we've got a little team in Ibiza.
Oh yeah, we're going to get onto that. That's the most exciting. That is definitely the office I'm most interested in being invited to. But so you've built a truly global business, 1,300 customers. It's incredible, and I'm not just saying it because you sponsor the show. I mean, I decided to allow or to have that conversation with Eloise based on the fact that I'd heard such good things, like, the amount of customers that were moving onto Vincere from alternative platforms. I was like, I've got to find out more about this platform. And then when I did, I was super excited. So, but it sounds like it's not been an overnight thing. It's took you a while to get to where you are. If it took you 5 years of dabbling with something completely different.
Well, yeah, I mean, really, when you look at it, we did corporate ATSs for a corporate ATS, and we were building an employee analytics platform, right, and they were the sexy stuff, right? So, but we're kind of doing too much, and in 2015 we had a cash crunch, and our investors said, listen, you need to focus on one of the products. And of all 3 products, the worst performing product was actually the one that we've got now. And it's an interesting story because, it was like, I use the analogy, it's a little, red-headed cousin in the background no one ever spoke to, right? This turned into a Nicole Kidman, right? But effectively, we were given that choice, and we chose to go with Vincere. At the time, it was called Staffing Boss, and we renamed it to Vincere. And we relaunched the entire thing in 2016. So, and I think we had about 25 customers on the platform, which about 5 of them were using it at the time. Wow. Something ridiculous. So it's really been the last 4 years that we just decided, right, single-minded focus on this and go for it.
How many staff did you have at that point?
Oh, God, probably about 30, 35, not many.
Wow. That is incredible growth in 4 years.
Yeah, but we were doing silly things, Sean. basically we were trying to do too much. And typical of someone, when you first sell your first business, you think you're such a legend and a rock star. You do. You walk out and you think that you're bulletproof. And it took 5 years to realize the fact I wasn't. So I had to go back to what I was good at, which is focusing just on one thing and do it well. And we realized that when I looked at the 3 products, I looked at them and said that the number one reason for failure for tech companies, I think 40% of tech companies fail because there's no market need. People don't need it. So that was the reason why we chose the little redheaded cousin and built her up, because everyone needs a core system of CRM and ATS if you're running a recruitment business. You just do.
That's it.
So that's why we thought we'd focus on that. And we also felt that there was a good niche in the market for that too.
I've got so many things running through my head now, Bernie, from what you've said, right? So, but as an entrepreneur as well, as someone who's got visions of grandeur, of scale and exit, right? I'm not going to lie. Let's go back to when you sold the recruitment company and you talked about that. What were those? What was it really like selling? I mean, everyone talks about selling. I've interviewed a few people that have sold. Can you paint a picture of what it was like for you?
Yeah, it was intense. We were fortunate because we set out to sell we set out to sell that business as a going concern and exit from it, which is a little different from the present business. If I'm honest with you, Sean, this is not, this is something that is a lot bigger than that. Certainly is now. But basically, we set out to sell it. So we positioned ourselves to do so. And I and my business partner in London, we basically had a conversation in 2006. He'd previously sold a business, and he'd done really, really well out of it on paper. But he sold it he was 30 years of age, and he sold it to Harvey Nash. It was a big deal. He sold it in, I think it was April 2000. Right, just as the bubble was bursting, and he took most of his part of the deal in shares.
Right.
So he was thinking, oh, this market's going to fly. I'm going to be super rich because the shares are going to go up. Of course, they tanked. I think he was at the Oberoi in Bali. He was telling me, and he had a margin call on his credit card. The bank had put a margin call, and he didn't realize that the shares had plummeted, and he was like sitting there with like a bunch of mates and couldn't pay the bill for 3 days. So he basically came into this having learned a lot of lessons. So we were having a beer in 2006 and said we felt the market was toppy. I felt, why don't we just sell now? Why don't we layer that with an earnout, right? So in other words, you didn't do very well on the earnout previously. Well, let's max this one out, but go a little bit early so we take someone off the table. And he was in agreement, and that's what we did. So we sold that business in Feb 2007. And to be honest with you, it was a life-changing moment.
Incredible timing.
Well, you're walking down the street. I remember walking down the back street. I was in Tokyo at the time, and it was almost like something out of Vanilla Sky. That type of the street was empty. It was a Sunday. I was living in the CBD of Tokyo, and I was sitting there going, "Wow, I've got 8 figures in my bank account. 8 figures in my bank account." Think about that for a second. And so really weird, and you kind of like. The confidence that gives you is undeniable, and it was an amazing event.
You just think like anything's possible at that point. Anything, like 8 figures in your bank.
Yeah, you do. There's a number of things that you go through, and a lot of people don't talk about it. There's the time that you leave your business, and when I finished my earnout, and the people Hay took over, and Christine came in, took over. And pretty much the day I left and went up to live in the mountains of Japan for a few years, the phone stopped ringing, the emails stopped coming, and it was like this what? You're not
Massive
needed
void.
anymore.
Yeah.
No one contacts you. To go from being full on, 12 hours a day to nothing, that was something hard to swallow. And I think that's what people need to prepare themselves for, and so that was difficult, but you know what I mean. Having a wad of cash in your bank account kind of does.
So what did you do? So what did you do then? You said you went into the mountains and built.
Yeah, I built some houses in Hackaba,
right.
Sean. And I was going to basically have that as an earner for me, and I was going to get a yield out of that. But of course, I just didn't want to build any old houses. I didn't want to yield. I wanted to build the best houses that they were, and I just blew through so much cash. It was ridiculous, and that didn't have a Shinkansen, didn't have the bullet train going to it. It wasn't the primary, even though I had the best location for a house in Hackaba. It wasn't the primary place where people with money would go to stay.
Right.
So I didn't see a long-term gain from that. So, excuse me, come 2013, 2014, I sold out of that business and just focused my efforts purely on Vinny.
Right. So what made you think of doing something as different as technology when you are a recruiter? Because look, I've done that. I launched a marketing agency in 2017, having never done a day in marketing in my life. People thought I was a lunatic. My own business partner thought I was a lunatic. I think I did at one point, but I just believed it. I don't know. I was super excited. I had a passion for it. I felt the one skill I felt I had was recruitment, so I could build a team. So if I didn't know something, I could fucking find someone who did. That was kind of the attitude I had. And I was relentless with this vision that I had. So I can really empathize with people that do make that move into something they've never done. But what was your story around going into technology, having been a recruiter?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's because I think I'd done recruitment. I thought, well, I can go back and set up another business and sell it again. I did think about that, but I also said to Hayes that I wouldn't get back in recruitment, I wouldn't steal all their people, which I didn't. So I wanted to live by that. But really, I just felt that, I'd done. Here's the other thing, Sean. We all think we're clever, right? Of course, I know tech, right? I was doing recruitment in tech.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I know tech inside out, right? I mean, Java, J2E, Struts. I can string a job spec together, so I must know technology. Yeah. How hard can it be? I think a lot of ignorance there as well, because it is not for the faint of heart, right? It's a bit like anything. You go into something new, like you've done. Right, it's lucky that it's attached to recruitment because there's a familiarity there. Yeah. But it is quite different, right? I mean, did you find that coming into marketing 100%. Was like a bit of a
100%? And mine was different in the way that, the anchor to recruitment is exactly what kept me doing it, because it was, I was feeling like my clients were like my colleagues and I were my friends, and I was like, I love that. I love to be able to talk on their level, but what I underestimated was the amount of money you could earn per person. So I was a £700,000 biller that got my team, like a team of 3 of us, doing £1 million in London. And I can't do £1 million with 3 people in this business. I need to have a team of 15 or something, 8 to 15. And I learned that really quickly, that it was all, you could sign clients, but the work started when you signed a contract. Yours might be more, it's an operational engine, whereas mine is we start to work for you. Whereas in recruitment, I was used to doing a lot of work, putting in a contractor, and then they were great. They were good to go. I might have to pick up the phone and check in, but I placed really good people. Average timeline was about 18-month contracts. There's still a guy I placed in 2013, I believe, that still works through the agency that I used to work for. It was a really good market. And so when we signed a client, that was where I kind of was like, yes. And then I was like, shit, now we need to do some work. So I've learned, it's 4 years in, and I've gone through so many ups and downs. I love what I do. I'm really glad with the decision, but there's been moments I've gone, what the fuck, why am I doing this? Like, it's just, it'd be easier to go back. It'd be easier to go and do what I did before.
I think getting out of recruitment is super hard, right? Because it pays so well, doesn't it? Really, if you're good at recruitment, there's my ex-business partner in London. He's running his own firm, and he's just done an exit. I just become part of a bigger firm, another exit soon thereafter. He was, Andy was making, $500,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's what he was making. Right. I just can't see why a lot of people would, I know it's hard and it's difficult. I know it's transactional, but it pays so well. That's the hard part, to move on from that, I think. And I also think that, yes, it's champagne and razor blades, right? But that champagne moment is a lot of the time is worth, 10 of those or 1,000 of those.
What I found at the beginning, I was actually asked on a podcast last week. I was on the Talent Talks Asia podcast in Singapore. I was interviewed last week by Andrea Ross, and she said, "Why have you got like your accolades on your LinkedIn? Why does it say your billing numbers and you're winning the awards and all this?" And I said, because the natural thing everyone thought when I pitched them was that I was a shit recruiter who was flipped into marketing. And I was actually, I'd say I was in the top 5%. Like I was by far the biggest biller, the best. Like I was running the business basically. And so, that was a positive, but it was also a negative, because it meant every time I had a bad day, I could remember the commission checks. I could remember what I was like. I remember the delivery of my recruitment team and myself, and thinking I was fucking really good at that. What am I doing?
I heard your podcast, right, with was it Mint? Pete at Mint?
Pete Watson.
Yeah, Pete Watson. Yeah, very interesting. It's like, it was like, because you were a top biller, like one of the top biller at S3, right?
No, I was at a company called Venquis. It's not an S3 brand, but yeah, I was the top biller there. People don't expect you to make that move when you're performing well. They just why no,
and I mean, you can make that money forever if you want to, but I think if your heart's not in it, and it's really not in it, and the money's not the entire end game, I think it's worthwhile trying something different. But I always say to people, it's so good to stick to something close to home.
Yeah.
Whether it's tech, or whether it's moving to marketing, or whether it's moving to a NED role, or a mixture of those. That's that you can still use on those years of skills you've got, right?
Yeah.
The years of knowledge that you've got from running your own business and being a top biller.
Yeah, for sure.
That's there's a lot of people who run businesses, but a lot of there's not a lot of top billers out there, so to speak, that you can get advice from.
No. So you started building products. You said the name was Sandbox. Did you say?
No, it was Staffing Boss.
Staffing Box.
Yeah, we had this boss thing. I don't know where it got it from, but it was like we had hiring boss, staffing boss, and employee boss.
Right.
And because you want a boss to tell you what to do, right? And that's what we thought the systems. That was the play on the names.
Where did you come up with Vincere?
Well, when we were rebranding, because I came up with a great name before. I thought I came up with the name James Harvard for our initial business, right? As a matter of fact, Hayes have just relaunched James Harvard as their premium brand service, right. Which is great. So I wanted to come up. I thought I could come up with good names and start. I obviously was showing the door with Staffing Boss and Hiring Boss, etc. But Vincere was. I just wanted something that really would resonate with recruiters. And I thought, when you're up competing in recruitment, there's no podium finish but first place. There's no second or third. There's no merit awards. It is you win or you lose. Which is what I love about recruiters, because they go into every assignment, and in most cases, if they're not doing, retainers, they're on contingent, so they don't win, they don't get anything.
Yeah. So
we wanted something that resonated with them, and Vincere, if you probably remember the 1990 World Cup, and the song that was very famous by what's his name? Pavarotti, that's him.
Mm-hmm.
And he finishes with Vincero, I've won, and Vincere means to win, to conquer.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so it just came from that. Okay, long story, a short story.
No, that's awesome.
Make it a long
that's
one.
The first tournament I remember. That I was only 4 years old, but I do remember. Yeah, when Maradona ran up to the screen and stuff. I remember that one, because England weren't in it.
The semi-final loss to Germany was just heartbreaking, right? I mean, being sat in the UK, I was in the UK at the time, and I remember going, "Oh my god,"
Yeah, I mean, I say I remember it, but that's 94. I'm sorry, I'm thinking 94 is when Maradona ran up to the screen. Yeah, 1990. I think I remember it, but it might be
my age there, I know.
It might be watching videos back. There's a film, An Evening with Gary Lineker. I don't know if you've ever seen that film, and it's a film based on the 1990 World Cup. And it's a wicked film. So I don't know if I do remember it. I just remember that film. So you name it Vincere. What was the vision back then? So when you're 30 people, you're building bits of tech. You've decided to hone in on one, which is the thing that they all need. You've got the likes of, Bullhorn and Adapt, and you've got all these big brands that are already dominant in the space. What was your vision?
Well, we had to do something different, right? And I felt that the market would be open to it. So I felt we couldn't go and just build the same thing that Bullhorn had done. And there was a lot of, so we set out to start, focusing on that one area, but also to then augment it and build a platform. So pretty much after we relaunched Vincere, and it was a bit of a dog at first, I'll be honest with you. And I look back on some of my first customer is still with me, Rocco, sitting in Japan. He's a rock star. I think he's just added another 2 people this week. Great. But those guys went through pain. So anyway, as we were fixing it and making it better, as you do with a product, we wanted to augment that with other things. So we've added pay and bill, and we added an analytics suite on top, and we started adding things like engage and websites as well. So what we did have was the ability to augment our workforce here with people that used to work with us previously, and they run outsourcing shops, so we can bring people in to work with us here without having to go to the expense of hiring them permanently. So that's what we did. And we set out pretty much, to build a solution that could do, all the core fundamentals under one roof, rather than living in the 90s with a Franken stack of technology solutions or marketplace of technology solutions that don't really talk to each other.
I'm interrupting this episode of the RAG podcast to bring you a message from our sponsor, Odro. You know by now that Odro are the #1 video interview platform for recruiters around the world. Now, they keep bringing out new features, from Odro Capture to Odro Producer, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. But now, recently, they've just announced a new feature to the platform, which is a complete game changer. During COVID-19, they realized that the recruitment audience, the communication was changing. Globally, their clients and candidates were using Microsoft Teams and Zoom more than anything else. The phrase, let's jump on a Zoom call or jump on a Teams call, has actually replaced the words video interview for a lot of their conversations over the last 6 months. Now, they were thinking, how are we going to eradicate this? How are we going to make Odro the name that everyone talks about for the interview process? And they realized they didn't need to. They needed to integrate. So for the first time ever, they're the first video interview platform on the planet that have decided and managed to integrate with Zoom, and soon to be integrated with Microsoft Teams. So with one click, after recording a Zoom video, you can now drag that into Odro and create everything else that Odro has, from adding the CV, the heat maps, the capture, and the producer elements. You get all the benefits of Odro before and after the interview, but you get to use Zoom, which is client-friendly on all levels. So this is massive. Teams is coming. It's the first time anyone's ever done it in our sector, and it is literally going to change the way you work in 2021. Get in touch with my friends over at Odro at odro.co.uk, or if you're already a user, reach out to your account manager to make sure you've got this feature. Back to the show. When it comes to integration with CRM in recruitment, from my perspective, that's been one of the biggest challenges for the last 4 years, because we use HubSpot as a marketing automation platform for most of our clients, and HubSpot's incredible software for when you use the sales side and the marketing side like we do, and we've got like a product-based sell. It's just the best. But when it comes to candidates and clients, and the fact that every recruitment company's already got CRM like you, the integration's always been the challenge. So the fact that you're already thinking about building it all under one roof, I think is just such a breath of fresh air, because I think people don't want to buy millions of pieces of kit. They want to have one version of the truth.
There's so many things, Sean, that there are problems with that. It's like one of the big ones is the end dates are all wrong. So say you want to change, we've had it so many times. People come to us, I want to change off my CRM. I won't mention any names. And then they basically say, I want to move off my CRM. And then they go, my analytics suite doesn't finish for like another 2 years. It's like they're stuck. They're like, because they're paying so much for each of these products, they can't move. So it's clever. And our biggest competitor, those guys use their marketplace to sell their product. So they use it's more of a partner play to help sell them. It's not good for the customers. They say it's good for the customers. It's not. It's good for them because they're using the marketing power of their partners to promote them. Which is clever, but it's not good for the end user. And I implemented 3 systems myself. I even tried to build one when I was in recruitment. Just madness, right? But so I've been through the whole process, and I just feel, if you've got one provider, I've got one person to blame. I've got one person to chase. It might take a little bit longer in some areas, but at least I know that these guys, we have to deliver this because we've got so many people riding on it.
For sure. What are the different pieces that you've mentioned then. So you've said you've
Right.
got your core CRM, you've got analytics,
Yep.
you just said. What else
Yep.
is in that suite?
So just to explain, the analytics piece, we OEM that. So we got an OEM product, a bit like Tableau. We didn't build that from scratch. So we put that on top, and we've got a long-term agreement with those guys.
What's OEM for people that don't know what that means?
That's where you white label it.
Yeah.
So you basically white label their product and you build it on top of our product, which gives us really great capabilities right out of the box. We build our own pay and bill. That's your timesheets, your expense management, and leave and absence, and that's been built out of the box. And we're building that for different for Australia, New Zealand, UK, US. We're building it for Ireland, all around the world. So we've got customers really going on to that now. We've got Engage, which is websites.
Yep.
You need your job portal, your candidate portal, your client portal. And we just introduced this new thing called a comms hub. For those that don't know what that means, it's basically a communications hub where we've got SMS and we have this new thing called Vincere, which is basically Slack for recruiters.
Yeah.
Which we think
what
is
was
big.
the reason? What was the and obviously moving to a remote workforce, I imagine, is driven the need for that. But what's the kind of rationale behind building a Slack inside your CRM?
We started this 3 years ago. I felt we're using Slack internally, right? And I don't have people send me emails internally. They all Slack me. It's purely because it's so fast, it's so quick. I have it on my mobile app. I can communicate and with the entire company. I don't have a spam issue. I don't have to go like this through my phone every bloody morning. I do with my email right now, getting through emails, and I don't lose things. It's the weapon of the future. I mean, I'll give you an example. Mark Benioff at Salesforce, he's just spent $27.7 billion on Slack, right? And they said that's the best acquisition they've ever made. And just so you know, they spent 2.5 billion on Exact Target, which is like a HubSpot equivalent. So they feel that a Slack type product is 11 times more important to them as a business than a marketing automation tool.
Wow.
So and the actual it's also the last 4 acquisitions that they made were dwarfed. They spent more on Slack than the last 4 acquisitions they made in any products on the Salesforce platform. So it is big. It is the future, because really it's when you use it, we link it out to Zapier, we link it out to many other systems, and it's just where you funnel all information in. I mean, we've been using Slack in the last 3.5, 4 years, and I could not live without it. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I just have to say to Eloise, stop, turn it off, right? Because she's like this all the time, right? She's, but it means that we're always on. We don't miss anything. Any opportunity comes in, we can get on it. And it really does help, especially with customer service. So if a customer has an issue, I need this, I need that, bang, we can be onto them in seconds.
So the client,
sending an email.
Do you let your customers Slack you as well?
No, not yet.
No.
That's coming.
That'll be Vincere chatbot stuff.
This is the thing, right? You can connect it out. And what's wonderful with this, I mean, Slack have a thing called Slack Connect now, which we're building into Vini Connect, right? Which is similar. You can put it out to a customer, and a customer communicate with you over Slack. You don't pay for it. If you look at WhatsApp right now, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. If you want to connect that WhatsApp, it'll cost you about 5.5 cents per WhatsApp message, right? It's the same price as an SMS. Cheaper in the US because there's just a lot more volume, but still you're paying for it. So all the communications can get really expensive, and you can't budget for that if you're just going to have, hundreds and thousands of text messages and you're paying every time you send one or receive one. Whereas with ViniChat, you're not paying for it, right? So you can have those communications and you're not paying for it. And also you keep all the information internal. It's yours. You don't have a guy with a WhatsApp leaving your company and taking all that IP with him. You keep all that internal. But I could go on about it, Sean, for days about the applications and the use of this, because it's a notification channel. You link it out to other systems. If we have triggers where you put something into a ViniChat message, you can send it to a spreadsheet. Or the opposite way around, if it's something happens in HubSpot, then you can send the notification into Vincere, into ViniChat, saying such and such has just applied, or such and such has moved to this campaign. Maybe you want to give them a call. There's so many ways you can apply this platform.
Sounds amazing. I mean, we use Google Chat in our business because we're on the G Suite platform. I don't think it's necessarily as amazingly fancy as Slack, but it's the same premise, right? We have chat rooms for each team, for each client. We have, and it was replaced email, like you say. It's literally, what we found that WhatsApp internally was just, I don't know. It felt like because you're on WhatsApp in your personal life, the standard of chat kind of was a bit sloppy. Like people were just putting in crap memes and forwarding things that they might have got from friendship groups. And I was like, I don't really want that necessarily in my team feed. And the biggest change problem I found was that when you're in your WhatsApp, people in your personal life can tell you're online. So if I got a message from my partner and I didn't want to address it there and then, but I had to address something at work in WhatsApp, she could see that I'd been online and offline. And, it creates the argument. It creates arguments. You don't fucking want those. If I'm working, I'll read your shit later. I know it sounds bad, but that's kind of my attitude. As soon as we flipped it all to Google, you're not having Google chats with your mates. You're not having it with your wife, your partner, your boyfriend, whatever. You're able to dedicate your comm strategy to the business. And I think, so I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. And if it's, can it link straight to, it can link to client records, candidate records, I imagine everything, right?
Yeah. We've had that. So you can bring in files and whatnot and keep those files in there and search them.
Wow.
There's so many applications for it. If you look at Teams, what Microsoft have done, right? Their entire strategy now is built around Teams, right? Teams is their go-to platform for the future.
Yeah.
So I just felt that when I was looking, and do you know what as well? It was customers were telling me this, Sean. They were saying, Bernie, this is the future. This is the future. This is the future. The bigger ones were, right? The guys that were really starting to kick ass. And so I just couldn't ignore it. And my investors wouldn't give me I think it was $8 billion at that stage to try and buy Slack. They just said, no, Bernie, I'm sorry, mate. Nice try. But, all jokes aside, I had to do something. And I felt that's the step in the right direction. And although there's a lot prettier products out there we could have built, Vinimate, which we're building, which is the marketing automation tool, email and text messaging automation, that was pushed aside to get this in first.
Yeah.
So I felt before you automate, get the communication piece done first.
So is there anything else in the roadmap? You mentioned marketing automation, which I'm interested in, but anything else that
we've crikeys. The pay and bill piece is coming on. So what we're adding is the ability to talk to your workers through ViniChat. So we've got a in our pay and bill, it's a separate mobile app just for workers where they can fill out timesheets and all that type of stuff. Clock in sick or whatever they want to, take shifts, etc. But we put ViniMate into that so you can talk to your workers directly. So if they show up at site, hey, I've got my address, bang, ding, boom, go in, okay, send the address, bing, onto their mobile app, instant, real time. Hey, what's wrong with your timesheet? Please fill it out. Ding, they get a notification, they log in and fill it out. That type of thing. Also, we're doing ViniChat to clients, so through a client portal, but also through the live list, so that they can have real time conversations through our live list, which has been a massive hit. That's out of left field, to be honest with you. I thought, that's an okay idea, but customers love it. Just because recruitment, Sean, doesn't mean you know your customers. That's for sure. No. That's what I've learned. So those things are big. We've got Vini Social coming, where you can post social out, out and schedule that. Wicked. So because
will you be able to tag people on LinkedIn? Because that's the one thing all these social platforms can't do.
I don't know, mate. Well, that's a good question, because that's in design stage now, but it's not a lot of work actually.
Get me involved in that.
It's a lot of work. I'd love to, mate. I will do,
because honestly, I teach a content calendar as part of the Hoxo Academy, right? Where I believe that scheduling and creating your content at bulk is smart. I actually only ever do 5 days worth of content. I never do beyond that, because I think the world changes so fast, and actually the time it takes to build more than 5 days just isn't efficient. But
Can I ask you a question on that? I mean, how many agencies would you say would be using, or sharing content right now? What if you would say a percentage of agencies?
I'd say probably about 80% are trying to do something, and most of it's awful. But I'd say about 80%. There's probably about 20% are doing absolutely nothing. But majority of the agencies are well aware that content and marketing is now something they need. They just don't know where to start. They don't know how to do it. They see it as but the problem is they see marketing content as a separate project or separate task to the core business of recruitment. And I think it's really not a separate thing. It's marketing drives business development. Marketing drives candidate attraction. It is fundamentally part of those two tasks. It's part of account management. The amount of times I ask a client, would you wish to spend more face time with your existing customers, the guys that spend money with you? Would you wish to have more face time with those customers? I've never had a recruitment company say no, ever, right? Whereas when you put content out personally as well as a brand, and you're connected to your existing customers, that daily content feed gives your customers a connection to you that they simply do not have if you don't produce content.
Yeah,
so I've got 250 recruitment agencies around the world that work with Hoxo. They all see me online every day pretty much. So they even though I'm not the person on the phone to them most of the time, they still know what I'm up to. They're still connected to me. They're still commenting. We're still DMing each other. We still got a relationship. So that's the kind of vision I have for the future, is that every single desk and team and then company needs to have their own content strategy. But being able to schedule it through a tool like Vincere would be a game changer, because I'm using my content calendar that I use is effectively a fancy Google sheet. And the reason I don't use Hootsuite or the other buffer, the tools that exist to solve the problem, is because you can't tag people in LinkedIn using those tools. So if I use a scheduler on a Sunday, I still have to go in every day and change the post and edit it to tag Bernie or to tag Eloise or to tag someone. Because when you tag someone and you see the little blue version of their name, that alerts them and their network. That's where the power comes.
Interesting.
And these tools are trying to get that functionality in. So if you haven't got that, Bernie, live on the RAG podcast, let's talk about that offline. But it sounds like, you're doing chat, you're doing marketing automation, you're doing pay and bill, you're doing social scheduling.
Well, we're just going to release in 2 months a brand new website package as well. So what we've done is that previously the website, we've still got Engage, which does your job boards and whatever, but this will be all in one. It's like a CMS with blog posts and everything in it. And that's kind of like almost like your entire digital strategy in that, and that will come with an upgraded version of the jobs, job boards, an upgraded version of candidate portal, upgraded version of client portal, plus with a VMS coming as well to help if you've got an RPO business or you need to manage agencies. So that's kind of like what we're doing there is, and we're certainly going to have your involvement on this, that's for sure, because what we do is provide that as software as a service, and then your customers, then the larger customers, can manage it themselves. Yeah, because it's just out of the box, off you go, and we're just making sure it's got parity with everything we've got in the existing product now, and then we'll be pushing that out. We've already got some customers, some key customers signed up for it, but that's so what we're trying to say is that everything you have as a business, as a recruiting business, not everything. We don't do the parsing piece. No. Of course, there's going to be areas that, job posting, we don't do that. We do to some job boards, but not every job board. There'll be certain areas that we do need partners, but most of it should be under us.
A final interruption to today's episode to introduce Vincere. Vincere is the all-in-one CRM ATS platform built for the recruitment and staffing industry. Now, I first heard about these guys about a year ago. The amount of prospect recruitment agencies and clients I was working with that were telling me they were moving over to Vincere, I had to look into it. And what I found was a business that had a global reach with multiple offices around the world. So they've got this follow the sun methodology, which allows them to support recruitment businesses wherever you are and be in your time zone. But the technology that they've invested in is becoming a disruptor in the space. More and more recruitment businesses are doing this to give their recruiters a competitive advantage. They broke into the G2 Crowd's momentum grid as a market leader based on their reviews from their customers. So the agencies that are using this platform are raving about it. Now, if you're a RAG listener and you're thinking about changing CRM, or you're a new business looking to launch with a new CRM, then I would get in touch with these guys, because if you mention that you're a RAG listener, they're doing an amazing deal. By visiting www.vincere.io/RAG, you can get an exclusive deal which offers 2 months completely free on a 2-year commitment, or 3 months completely free on a 3-year commitment. This applies to all licenses that you've either signed up for now or that you'll add in the duration of the contract. So get on there and have a look. Finally, if you're listening and you're a recruiter and you're thinking, I want to move into a more of a business development role, and I'd like to keep hold of my recruitment knowledge. Well, these guys are recruiting for a BD person, well, multiple roles in both Sydney and London right now. So if you've got a strong recruitment background, you want to move into BD, and you want to work for a fast-moving tech business that's helping people like you right now, then get in touch via their website, because they're hiring today. Back to the show. One thing you mentioned at the beginning was that you saw the vision of doing one thing and doing it well, which I think is probably something I've learned over the last 4 years. We've done so many different things. And now, like, Hoxo Media effectively helps recruitment companies use marketing to win business, right? It's as simple as that. But we ask clients to give us a list of customers that they currently work with who they probably don't give enough love to, and a load of clients they want to work with. And we build a campaign that gets those people into the conversation, right? Simple as that. And we can track that our campaigns generated this awareness and this many people into a funnel, this many conversations. You know, you might have recorded a podcast, hosted an event, and then this is the sales that spits off the back of it, right? It's as simple as that. But it took me 4 years to get to, we were doing anything and everything before, you know, we were very reactive to what people wanted. What I found was that diluted the power of our message. It diluted the ability to scale it. You know, my teams were doing too many different things, so they were not experts in anything. And, you know, we're still not there, but I feel like we're in a really good place for that. Now that you've gone from being a CRM and you've got everything under one roof, does that mean that you've now got another job on your hands to try and not let it go too diverse so that you lose
absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, that's a constant battle, and it's a really interesting question, Sean, because it needs to be addressed. You know, what we're doing now is we're separating people out into being experts in particular areas within the product spectrum, so to speak. So we'll have pay and bill experts internal. Right? We just hired 2 people from industry. One person, she's a payroll expert, worked in the technology business for the last 5 years. She's a payroll expert. And another guy who used to run 3,000 contractors, who's worked in running recruitment back office finance teams for the last 10 years. So we're bringing those people in that know that stuff in that particular area, and making sure that you've got experts. So when you sit down with someone, you're sitting down with a person who used to sit on your side of the table. Yeah. You know, with Vincere, it's a little bit more difficult for that one to hire experts, but it's pretty self-explanatory, that baby. And things like, you know, we'll outsource the services on things like Vinny Social. We'll outsource the support on things like the new Engage and digital platform, because we just feel that, you know, it's better to have experts. We'll give you the tool, but have experts to man it and run it for us, and work with the customer. And it's a good opportunity then for partners to get a recurring revenue stream to support those customers as well. Right. So that's an avenue for us. But in essence, I like to use military terms when explaining things to people, and I think, you know, if you look at an army squad, right, when they go out and they go to fight, they each carry different weapons. Right, but each of those have been, you know, they've worked out through you know, a lot of pain and blood and gore, right, of what they need to be effective as a team. And that might mean a couple of guys carrying rifles. It could be a machine gun team. It could be a mortar team. It could be, you know, a sapper who's a guy that blows things up, you know, but they form a team, and they have a set of weapons. And that's what we want to give our guys, our customers, really, is that set of weapons. So when they go out and they say, hey, you know, I've got to take out a bunker up there, they can bring up the bazooka and do that, right? Because machine gun won't work. But if they say, hey, I've got a bunch of infantry advancing, I need to bring out the machine gun and the 50 cal and mow them all down. See, this is what I feel our customers need to do moving forward. They need to productize themselves. They need to be able to walk in and say, you know, we're not just a recruiting business, we're a full service business. they need to go walk into an organization and say, not, hey, have you got a contract job in Java? They say, how many contract jobs have you got? I'll do them all. I want our customers to walk in and win Wembley.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just walk in and say, hey, I'll do every job you got in Wembley, every event you got in Wembley, we'll do it. Right? That's what we've got to aim for, because I do feel that we're not really just competing with our big bad bullhorns and those guys. We're not just competing with them. We are competing with people like Jobs and Talent, Sidekicker in Australia, those guys that are building platforms to basically go out and eat recruitment agencies' lunches.
Yeah. And
we need to compete with them to give them the same type of weapon to fight back.
No, I completely agree with that. You want to be, I find that now that I'm on the side of the fence of hiring through recruitment companies and building a business that's non-recruitment, and thinking, people are the most important asset, and, building out an organizational chart that relies on the right people to hit the right points at the right dates for me to hit the next milestone. The value of a great recruiter is way higher than they probably realize when I talk, because obviously the level you talk to, if you're not dealing with the owner, you're dealing with an employee. They're doing a job. They're trying to do their best. They're trying to hit numbers, right? But even when I was at the top of my game as a big biller, I still don't think I understood the value I brought to the table when I was in these conversations with customers. Because at the end of the day, without the right strategy, we can't hit our goals as business owners, as leaders, as team managers. We can't do it. We're hamstrung without the right people. So once a recruiter, I think, realizes how important their solution is and can package it up in a way that is innovative, that's different, you're onto something special. Because the amount of just saying I've been doing this for 20 years is not enough anymore. You need to have something different. You need
true. But I do think what you just said there is really poignant, right? Because a lot of recruiters don't realize their value.
No.
But you look at the average TA or the average HR recruiter, they haven't got a spec on an agency recruiter. They got a spec. So that's why I was saying, have you heard of Jobs and Talent? Have you heard of those guys?
No.
Check it out. They're like a technology business. They basically brand themselves a technology business, mate, and they are worth billions, right? Wow. Or so they're like a unicorn. 600, 700 people in Germany and the UK, right? So so the valuations on them are through the roof, but they're just a recruitment agency that does full service temp. That's it. I mean, I look back and I look at like the Deloitte and all those guys. They're just expensive temp agencies too, right? I think this whole thing about people saying recruiters, they're not. Arthur Anderson, I'm sorry, well, they're not. Accenture, all of those guys, they're all just temp agencies. But anyway, coming back to that point though, the thing that drives me about this is that, with Jobs and Talent, it's not really run by recruiters. So it's run by people that don't have the drive and don't have the knowledge that our recruiters do. So my feeling is, if we give them the same platform, it's a bit like, having, an F1 car and putting Lewis Hamilton into it. Yeah. Whereas they'll have a guy off the street driving that F1 car and, not very well, clearly. We'll have a Lewis Hamilton in it. So I know who will win every time they go and pitch for business. And more importantly, who's going to fill that business. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's what I see the vision being anyway. Listen, it sounds a lot of this. I hear people on these podcasts all the time roll my eyes too. But, I think you've got to aim big. And I think we've got to aim to be a little bit different. And productizing, our businesses is someone's going to do it. Might as well be us.
No, I completely agree. I think it sounds amazing. I think it sounds really innovative. The feedback I hear from Vincere customers is always top notch. And the amount of clients, the amount of people that message me on a weekly basis about the product, that are in the sales conversation, you're doing some really good things.
Yeah, we're not there yet, mate. We've got a fair bit to do. It's like anything. You're 3 steps forward, 1 step back, aren't you? Really. I sit and look at the product all day, every day. So I see it in all its true glory, so to speak, or gory, whichever way you want to look at it. So
what is your day like? So,
keep
so
up.
a bit of a selfish question for me. Like, you're way further down the line in your career as a CEO, as a founder. What does your day look like? What was your role?
Well,
How would you
at the
describe it?
moment, it's about 30 to 35 meetings a week. It's full on. I'd say that running tech is I've never had anything like it. It's far harder don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. It just is.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But what the focus now is trying to move away from product and trying to build the business and build that management team that can manage managers. So trying to go back to where I was maybe 15 years ago or 14 years ago, and be that person that can now to scale it. We've just done our budget, so we're aiming for maybe 120 people this year. We'll finish on, but we're growing at 50% year on year in terms of annual recurring revenue. So we can now push the envelope now and see if we can push that up to 70% in the coming years. So, and that's just going to that means just. It means getting better organized and being a little bit more disciplined.
Yeah,
I suppose in terms of where you spend your time and what you spend it doing. Delegation's the name of the game, isn't it, Sean? Making sure you got. And here's the problem, right? We use recruiters quite a bit actually to find us people. We just found someone in Australia through a recruiter, right? And we spent a lot of money on recruiters, but we're in Saigon. It's very difficult to use recruiters over here. So it's a lot of in the past it's been a lot harder, put it that way, to actually grow a business here. Even though the people are ultimately very, very cheap, you just don't have the I suppose the depth of skills that you would have in London or Australia.
And what's so you mentioned, we talked about Ibiza. You're currently in Saigon. The plan for you and LL is to move. Is it to live in Ibiza? Is that the long term?
We don't know yet. So what will probably happen is we'll probably get into bed with a private equity firm, in the next year or two. Maybe ideally from the US, to be honest. And we might move to the US as a family. And then one day we definitely want to be in Ibiza.
Yeah.
But we opened up the office in Ibiza quite simply because I had a head of DevOps who was headhunted from a company in Berlin, a big tech company in Berlin, and he said, "I just want to move to Europe, Bernie." And we also had a Spanish guy living over here that was moving back. He was from Barcelona, and I said to Quar, I said, "Listen, mate, why don't we send you to Ibiza?" He said, "What? Never heard of it." Right? So I said, "Well, listen, we'll go over. We'll do a couple of days, have a look around, tell me what you think," because I was going to Europe at the time. They flew over, and he said, "Wow." So yeah, I'm up for it. So I wanted to keep him. He's amazing, right? And so I promised him to move him to Ibiza, and at the same time, Juan, who's the Spanish guy, is also amazing. I said, "Well, why don't you guys set up an office there?" And they did, and they've managed to find right in Talamanca. The office right there, and then so I don't know when we'll be there. But we'll just have to, whatever the business needs us to do, to be honest, is for first and foremost. But we're going to expand over there. We'll definitely be putting a couple more people there.
What's your life like? What's your life like outside of work? Because it sounds like you and Elle are both 100 mile an hour. What's life like?
We don't have one. We don't have one. No, it's like, so it's deliberate because we're going through such a fast growth phase right now. Where we've got to put product in, as I've just mentioned. And maybe once we get those products in and bedded down, then we can maybe start thinking about having a bit more of a life. But that's the way it is. It's so full on, mate. Because you've come 4 o'clock, the UK kicks in, or 3 o'clock, Germany kicks in. We start getting the Dutchies coming at us. Then it's like a 4 o'clock UK, right? Bang, 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 bang. And then at night we've got people in here working nights now, and they're taking on the American customers. So it's just full on, and we have this NPS score in our Slack, right? So I get on my phone, ding, 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 just about to go to bed, and I get like a 3 on the NPS of someone complaining about something. It's like, but I'll know that person the next day. Someone will be on it, call them up. What's the issue? But it's just full on. So I don't know what to say. I mean, what it's like running your own business, mate. And you've got customers around the world. You have the same thing.
Yeah. At the moment, we're recording this at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was up already messaging people in Australia, and then I've got a full day till 10 at night tonight. That I'll be. I mean, it's not always that late. Last night was 9:30. Some nights it's 7. I I go through I'll be honest. I go through phases of absolutely loving it, and then phases of feeling a bit drained by it. And I've learned to allow myself when I'm on those slightly downer moments to not beat myself up if I do finish at 7 or something and actually switch off. But when I'm riding high, which I am right now, I don't know if it's just because it's the end of Jan, early February or whatever, but I go for it. I go double for it. So like at the minute, I'll be on 7, 8, 9 video calls a day. I'll be, dealing with challenges in the business, dealing with clients, I'm recording so much content. It's nonstop. I'm doing this week. I've got 3 podcasts. So I've got a live podcast today, recording this. This will go out next week, I believe. And on Friday, I'm recording for my Project 500 initiative. I've actually got too much content. I don't know what to post some days now because I've got so many videos stacked of things I've done. I look and I go, which one should I put out today? It's crazy. So I empathize with you completely. My business partner is my best mate. We worked together as recruiters. We worked together as school teachers originally. We studied together at uni. He's now in London. I'm in Manchester. We speak all day, every day. And we're like you and Elle, I suppose. Our life, even though we're best mates, there's not so much of that friendship chat very often because it's just where we're going all the time. But it was lovely. In December, we met up in London when the world was allowed briefly to go for some like lunch with a couple of the team. And, to think that I lived in London, well, I lived and worked with Amma for 16 years, every day, pretty much. We were in an office in March. We had our own office in Bethnal Green, East London. We both every day worked together. I've seen him like 3 times this year since March. And it's crazy, but you keep going. The technology we have now, you just keep going, don't you? You keep pushing.
But it's good to hear this, Sean, because I think we're kind of, we've always been isolated from everyone, right? And I think now everyone's going through the same, well, not the same, but similar isolation issue. And it's just good to hear other people's experiences, because I think sometimes it just levels you out. Like I think the biggest thing that the business owners have got to get over is sometimes we all had to feel sorry for ourselves. And I think, just hearing other people talk about their experiences, hearing someone else is up at 8 a.m. and finishing at 9 p.m. and, it makes you go, oh, okay, pull your head in, son.
Yeah.
Come on, ain't that bad, because we do, especially now, we all, there is this feeling, isn't it? It's like, you're locked, you're an encaged animal. And I just feel, even though we're not caged in over here per se, because the business is so engrossing, encompassing, you're like, crikey, I'm like you sometimes, like, what are you doing? Are you stupid? But you've just got to battle through those times, haven't you? You just got to, put the blinkers on and just plow through it, because, the next day you're waking up, you're ready and fit and fighting, ready to go again.
You got to be.
I think
you got to be. And we have tough days, and it's about. I was taught in recruitment by my old boss Steve that it's not what happens, it's how you react that matters. Like anything could happen. It's outside of your control, right? Any day. I remember having like 3 contractors quit within an hour that I'd never expected. And I went white as a sheet on that day. And he was like, you couldn't control that. Like not one of those scenarios was to do with you and us. So it's how we react now. It's not what's happened. It's how we react. Take a breath. Let's go for a walk. And he taught me so well that I can have wobbles. It's how I come back. And I've had wobbles last week. I have wobbles this week. Like it's just the way it is. What I've loved about this episode, Bernie, is that, Vincere is a brand. It's a tech company. It's you've got a really strong name in the market, but I don't think many people know much about you in terms of how and why and what's going on in the background from a personal perspective. They'll know the tech, they'll know that what your new initiatives are, but it's been a pleasure to find out more about, the brains behind it, why you're doing it. And just, the one thing I've got from this is how much you genuinely care about the industry. You're not doing this just to make cash. You've made cash. That's not the driver, is it? It's because you genuinely want to solve a problem that matters for the people that matter to you.
Yeah. Well, you do. I think you have to go in with that mindset and that approach. Otherwise, it's going to come off as half-assed. people to see that, and the feedback we get from customers can be like I said, it's like champagnes and razor blades.
Yeah.
One day you got one person saying, this is the crappiest system I've ever used. Full stop. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry to be so harsh, but and that's the type of person. When I first read it, and years ago, it would just kill you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what? It's like saying that's the ugliest. You're saying your child is the ugliest child I've ever seen in my life. But now you get on the phone, or it makes you, what? Tell me more.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Because
learn from it.
really help me out to solve that and find out why you think it's that, and what can we do to address it. And I think that's just once you accept that, it's like life becomes much easier. But I appreciate it. I've like I said, I don't get a chance actually to do many of these, and clearly, but it's, I think every now and again it's probably pretty good to jump on and have a chat with people. I'm kind of like the back office guy that sits there and just builds things.
Yeah, but I think it's great to hear the man behind the brand and to find out more about you. So thank you firstly for sponsoring the show. Thanks for being behind the rag since last summer. You guys have been a huge supporter, and it makes the difference. It allows me to do it all the time. And I know that we've got a lot of shared customers now, and the relationship's gone from strength to strength. And thank you as well for helping out with the initiative last week. So for those of you that are listening, Project 500 is an initiative that I launched at the end of January with 2 of my customers to effectively get 500 brand new laptops out to 500 children in the UK that are underprivileged. So there's over 1.4 million children in the UK today with no access to a device, and they are, they're being forced to homeschool. Their parents are trying. We're printing off books and driving around to houses, and they're getting, soaking wet and snowy, and there's just so many horror stories. And 2 of my clients phoned me up and said, Sean, can we do something about this? You've got a decent brand, people. I think we could make a small impact. So we came up with this. We found a technology supplier who gets a basic laptop, Asus laptop, brand new, Windows 10, Google Classroom, all of that installed for 160 quid. And they'll send it to the school for that price. So we were like, it's an amazing deal. So we said, well, 500 laptops, that's £80,000. We got 10 grand in between us, and bam, straight away with, so we hit that. So as we talk now, I'm just literally in the background, I'm just gonna pull it up.
What's it on? What have you put it on? Is it GoFundMe?
Yeah, go get funding. It is. So gogetfunding.com/project 500. But we're sat at 33,264. We've had 125 donations so far. So we're 41% of our target in just over a week. So I'm really proud of everyone, including you, Bernie, for getting behind us. So thank you.
Sean, that's wonderful you're doing this, mate. It's fabulous, right? Because it's just, like I said, again, it's great.
Well, the thing is, we just don't have it's not like we're sat here with loads of time on our hands. So we're, me and the 2 partners, we're doing it. We've given our teams, if they want to get involved, they've got to do it outside of work hours. So I've got guys every night and all weekend working on it, which is great. But we'll hit that target. I don't know how fast we'll do it, but we'll get there. So thanks to you, and thanks for anyone who's listening. If you want to get involved, go to project500.hoxomedia.com and you can read all about it. Bernie, if anyone is listening and wants to talk to you, not about necessarily the product, but just wants to, get 5 with you, have a quick insight, maybe to do with how you sold your business or, productization, some you might have sparked something in their mind. I know you're a busy man, but would you be open to them reaching out and setting up a quick chat with you via Zoom or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of requests like that. I generally don't, if I'm honest with you, but I don't mind, having, listen, it depends. Is there a customer? Probably.
Yeah.
I've had customer calls with people that one recently, but I generally don't. But if it's a customer, no problem. But just reach out to me via LinkedIn.
Just reach out via LinkedIn. I'm
the only Bernie Schiemer in the world, right?
Wow.
Schiemer. I'm the only guy in the world with that name, so I'm going to be easy to find.
Wow, right. That is incredible. What a statistic that is.
I know, yeah. Every Twitter handle, everything I can get. It's like, but I don't know. It's such a funny name. It's just weird. Anyway,
Well, I love it. I love it. Well, Bernie, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And guys, thank you again for listening to the Rag Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did enjoy today's show, please do me a favor and get this episode out to someone you think will enjoy it. So send it via text, WhatsApp, email, whatever. We all know other recruiters, other recruitment owners that will benefit from listening to Bernie's story, from the vision he's got for the industry, the need to productize, etc. Because together, my vision is the more the industry listens, together we're going to be stronger. There's a competitive element, but we want to raise the bar of the sector as a whole. And by passing this on and sharing it, we're one step closer. I'll be back again next week. So every Wednesday, some weeks are on LinkedIn Live. This week's not. We're pre-recording this week, but I'll be back again next week with another episode. In the meantime, you stay safe and I'll see you soon.